Hey there, students. Mr. Catlin here, and we're making a video for your virtual lesson 4.4, and we're talking about the percent equation. Now, we've already discussed two ways to solve percent problems: double number lines, tables. You might have liked one of those. You might not have liked either. You might have understood them both. I don't know. Here's another way that we can address percent problems with an equation instead of using a table or instead of using a double number line. So this is the percent equation. What it says is that A is P percent of W. Now that sounds weird if you just say it like that. We're using an equation, A equals P times W, where A is representing the part out of the whole, and P is representing the percent in a fraction or decimal form, and W is representing the whole. Okay, so another way that I always like to write it is I like to write it out like this: part equals the percent multiplied by the whole. All right, that's the basic setup of it. And you'll notice that it is set up like a constant of proportionality equation would be. Something times another equals another thing. And that's because the table works for us. There is a constant that works for us here. And the constant for us here we're going to be using is the percentage. We're going to treat it like it's the constant of proportionality where we're comparing the part to the whole and finding out what number relates them or vice versa. So in this first example, what I've done is I've put the number 15 in the parts place. All right. And something that you'll always notice in these simple problems like this is that the part can always be lined up to the word is. So you'll see the word is related to the part often. All right. The percent's always going to have a percent sign attached to it. So duh. And then 30, which is representing our whole in this case, is going to be attached to the word of. You'll see out of or total or whole associated obviously with the word whole. Okay. So is equals the percent times of is another way that you might see this equation talked about online if you view other videos from other teachers and other people that are educating students in this. So is equals percent times of, part equals the percent times the whole. So let's look at a couple of examples of this. Let's put it into action, okay? The first problem, if you're looking at the handout that I posted in the comments, I accidentally meant to put 3,500 there. This comes out a lot nicer when that's 3,500. So let's look at this problem here. 35% of what is 3,500? Notice that the percent it does have a percent symbol attached to it. We do not know the of. It says of what? So we don't know the whole. The whole here is our unknown. And we do know that is next to the number 3,500. So we do know the is number. We do know the part. So the part is 3,500. So if we set this up the way that it's supposed to, part, which is 3,500, 3,500 equals the percent, which is 35. Now, every time that you do this, notice that the percent needs to be in fraction or decimal form. So I'm going to convert 35% real quick in my head to decimal form. So this will work for us. And then we're multiplying that. By something we don't know. Okay, so I'm going to put a question mark there for right now. Okay, so if we have an equation like this with unknowns, we typically drop x as multiplication symbol and we use it as the unknown. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3,500 equals 0.35x, or times something that we don't know, calling it x. X in this case being the whole that we do not know. Now, whenever you solve an equation or you find out what the x or the unknown is in an equation, we know that when they're multiplying your variable by a number, we can undo that and find the answer to this by division. So we divide both sides by that multiplier of 3,500. And what that'll do is it'll cancel out your multiplication over here by your x, leave you with your x isolated. And to get your answer, all you got to do is find the quotient of 3,500 and 3,500ths. So we can type that into our handy dandy Desmos calculator. But you can see that 35 and 35 are going to be pretty nice when you divide them. So 3,500 divided by 35, and that gives us 100. But remember, it wasn't 35, it was 3,500. And that's the important part about typing this in decimal form. Otherwise, you're not going to get an answer that makes any sense. Divided by 3,500, it makes sense that 10,000 is the whole and 3,500 is the part. So our answer here, X is 10,000. 10,000. So what we're saying here is 35% of 10,000 is or equals 3,500. And that makes complete sense. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, what percent of 80 is 26? Okay, 26 is the part because it's attached to the is word. So I'm going to write this as 26 equals part equals, and then 80 is my of. I don't know my percent, so this is what I'm stuck with. Some percentage multiplied by 80 equals 26. So we can think of that as 26 equals 80x. Something times x, or something times 80 equals 26. And we got to find that something, and that something in decimal form is our percentage. So going about the process of solving this, we would divide both sides by 80. And what that does is it cancels out the 80s on this side and makes 1. And to find out what x equals, we have to do 26 divided by 80. So when we do 26 divided by 80, we go to our handy dandy Desmos calculator, and we do 26 divided by 80, we get our answer, which says 0.325. So let's think about that for a second. X is 0.325. Remember, we plugged in 0.35 for 35% on the first problem. So 0.325 is actually representing a 2 decimal move over 32.5%. So 32.5% of 80 equals 26. That's what we're saying here, and that's our answer. Last one. Okay, 60% of 320 is what? We do not know the part. The part is unknown. So we have an x on the left side of the equation for the percent equation. So we don't know the part, but we know that 60% can simply be multiplied by 320 to find it. We know that this is the easiest type that you can have. You just multiply the two numbers. But don't multiply 60 times 320. That's not going to give you the part. That's going to give you a crazy larger number. You want to do in decimal form what 60% is times 320. And that will tell you what x is equal to. So all we got to do is 0.6 times 320. We'll go to our calculator for that. 0.6 times 320, and that is our percentage, 192. So x is 192. 60% of 320 is or equals 192, and that makes sense. All right, last one that we're going to do here. During the month of December for a Christmas bonus, Marcus received pay that was 125% of his typical wages. So 125%, this is a percentage that is different than what he normally makes. Now, he made $4,000 in December. How much does he usually make? What is his usual making of payments that he gets paid in income without the bonus? All right, so 125% is not the whole. This is actually greater than the whole. And this is what's confusing about the percent equation, is sometimes the part is bigger than the whole because it's over what he usually does. This $4,000 is not the whole amount of money that he makes usually. It's more than the whole that he makes usually. So 4,000 in this case is actually the part, even though that might be difficult to understand. 4,000 is the part. 125 is the percent, and we're trying to find out what does he normally make on the whole every month. What is that 100% he normally makes? And so this is the setup for this percent equation right here. Now we would rewrite this as 4,000 equals 1.25 because that's the decimal version of 125%. 2 decimal moves to the left. And then we're multiplying by something we don't know, so we would say 1.25x. So that would be what this looks like when it's set up in the equation form. And so to get our answer, all we have to do is divide by the 1.25 to cancel out the multiplication by the x. and we will have what the value was in the first place. What does he normally make? Now, this should be less because December was with a bonus. So I'm expecting something in the 3,000s whenever I do this division. So I'm going to do the 4,000 divided by 1.25. So let's do that. Let's clear this off, and let's do the 4,000 that he's made for this month bonus divided by the 125%. Yeah, he normally makes only $3,200. That makes sense. And he's getting like an $800 bonus for Christmas this year. So our answer there is $3,200. And that's it. You could have done that with a double number line. You could have done that with a table as well. But the percent equation is just a new way to attack these types of problems. Peace out. See you guys.